So who's the best player that's been released by every Championship club this summer? Let's find out. Guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. As always, if you do go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. If we get it 350, that would be massively appreciated. But believe me when I say there are some brilliant free agents that are going to be available this summer. Today we're going to be going through every Championship club and deciding who is the best player that they've released this summer. Now, this could either be a situation where they decide not to give that new player a contract and they therefore released him, or the player has themselves decided not to sign on with the club. Let me know down below what you make of the players that you have let go. But without any further ado, let's jump into this one. Barnsley, Alex Mowat. Now, Barnsley are in quite a unique situation at the moment because technically they've not actually released anyone as of yet. All their players whose contracts are expiring at the end of the season, they've all offered new contracts to, including club captain Alex Mowat. However, he is yet to sign on with the club, with a decision to be made in his future after the player has taken a break. Now, Barnsley fans, I'd like to hear from you guys. How confident are you that Mowat will sign on? Do you think he will, or do you think he will actually go ahead and leave this summer? Because it would be quite the blow to lose, your club captain on a free transfer after the season that Barnsley have just had. Mowat is one of the more experienced heads in that changing room, despite him still being fairly young himself. He's definitely one to keep your eye on over these next few weeks. Birmingham Dan Crowley. Now, when Birmingham originally signed him, I was really quite excited about this deal and how he got on at the club in the first couple of months. He actually did really well for them. He was that quite exciting number 10 who would link up play. He had some nice link up moves with some of the players around him. He grabbed 5 assists in that first season, but as that year went along, he picked up an injury, I think, at one stage and never really managed to fight his way back into the side. They went to sort of a flat 4 across midfield as well, and a number 10 didn't really fit into that. He played out of position at times as well and things like that, but he never really fully fit into the system at Birmingham. In the first half of this last season just gone by, never really got the chance. He was then loaned out to Hull and has ultimately now been released. Dan Crowley will be a good player. It's just he wasn't really the right fit at Birmingham. Blackburn Rovers Lewis Holtby. Now, on his day, Holtby could be potentially one of the best sort of holding midfielders in the Championship. I remember when Blackburn came to Deepdale earlier on in the season, and he absolutely ran the show from midfield. That sort of 4-3-3 that they went with this season at times really suited Holtby, and the sort of way that he could sort of engineer his way throughout that midfield. But ultimately, the player's now 30 years old. He's had injury sort of catch up with him. He's been sort of in and out of that squad towards the end of the season with those injuries, and so a decision was ultimately made to let him go. Blackpool, Ollie Turton. Blackpool's longest serving player has departed this summer despite Blackpool offering him a new contract. He's recently just signed for Huddersfield Town on a free contract. He is quite versatile in the positions that he can play, either as a right back, so he'll be going to Huddersfield as that sort of backup for Pippa. Can either play as a right sided centre half or even in midfield. But another one that surprised me a little bit from Blackpool was letting go of Sully Kaikai. In terms of his creative stats for Blackpool in League One this season, he was right up there with 7 goals and 8 assists. He was Blackpool's second most creative player this season in terms of key passes with 45. So yeah, I'm interested to see where he ends up next. Bournemouth Jack Wilshere. After his contract has come to an end with the club, he won't be signing on for next season. Very interested to see where he ends up next, actually. Quite a few of his minutes this season, Jack Wilshere did come off the bench, and he had a couple memorable moments in a Bournemouth shirt. Obviously that red card against Watford being one of them, but it really is crazy what injuries can end up doing to someone's career. He's still only 29 years old. Bristol City Famara Jeju. Now, Bristol City have released quite a few players this summer, but the one that's going to be hardest to replace surely is going to be Jeju. With Bristol City's lack of goals already being the problem, the fact that they've lost their top scorer is obviously going to cause issues going into next season. In each of the 4 seasons Jeju was at Bristol City, he did get into double figures in all competitions, scoring 51 goals in 169 appearances. With that sort of goal return, he's not going to be easy to replace. Cardiff City Sol Bamba. Now, it's going to be a shame that Cardiff fans won't really have the proper opportunity to send Sol Bamba off on the pitch with fans not being in stadiums, but what a player he's been over the years for Cardiff, and what a story, for all the hardship that he's gone through recently to now be cancer free. He is a bit of a legend of the Championship, isn't he? As well as Sol Bamba, they've also gone ahead and released Junior Hoyler. The winger's game time had been a little bit more limited this season, but obviously he was a crucial part of Cardiff's last promotion to the Premier League. Coventry City Maxime Biamou. Now, he chipped in with a few goals this season, to be fair to him. 5 goals scored in the Championship, but he has been one of those Coventry players who's been with them throughout the whole ride, you know, promoted from League 2, promoted from League 1, and now survival with Coventry in the Championship. So yeah, I'm sure a few Coventry fans will be sad to see Biamou move on. Derby County, Martin Waghorn. Now Derby are one of the few Championship clubs yet to release their retained list for the season. One of the players who is out of contract at the end of the season and they are currently negotiating with is Martin Waghorn, obviously their hero on the final day really. By no means did he have a great season by his expectations, but those heroics on the final day were enough to ensure Derby's survival. Andreiu Wisdom is another player who's out of contract at the end of the season who Derby are currently negotiating with. Fulham, Kevin McDonald, a bit of an icon at the club. 2 promotions with Fulham from the Championship to the Premier League. This season he's obviously been kept out of action due to his kidney problems. He's recently had to have a kidney transplant, but he was one of their more sort of experienced heads in that dressing room, and in terms of sort of like getting over the final line with those last 2 promotions, McDonald certainly played a key part in the dressing rooms and on the pitch. Huddersfield Town, Christopher Schindler. Unfortunately for Huddersfield fans, all good things must come to an end eventually. Obviously Christopher Schindler was their hero from Wembley when they were promoted. He scored the winning penalty in the shootout. He's since gone on to captain the club and has been a fantastic player throughout his time there. Hull City, Rhys Burke, the defender, has instead decided to sign for Luton on a free contract instead of extending his stay at Hull City. Now, he has played quite a bit of football for Hull in this season, just gone by their promotion from League 1, although he did sort of lose his place in that side towards the end of the season. I think I'm right in saying it was more Greaves and Jones who were playing towards the tail end of the season for Hull. But a decent player nonetheless. I remember his first season at Hull especially, I was really quite impressed with him, and at only 24 years old, he's still at a relatively good age. Luton Town, James Cullen's their top scorer in their past several seasons. He scored 68 goals and 174 appearances for Luton. His goals have been vital to Luton and their progression up the Championship in general, really. You know, their survival in the first year, he was absolutely pivotal to that, scoring 14 in the Championship, and this time round he also got into double figures. Not just his goals though, his overall hold-up play. He always seemed to have an absolute worldie of a game against Northend, and he's now moved on to sign for Cardiff on a free transfer. Middlesbrough, Ashley Fletcher. Obviously the big 2 that have departed from Borough on free transfers are Ashley Fletcher and Britt Assombalonga. 2 pretty big names for the Championship, I think it's fair to say. Fletcher's missed the majority of this season through injury. When he did feature and he got a consistent run in that Borough side, you could tell that there was a player there. You know, that goal he scored the other season away at West Brom was absolutely outrageous, and the few times we got to see a bit of link up between Assombalonga and Fletcher, there could have potentially been something there. You know, there's a bit of chemistry between those 2, but ultimately injuries and inconsistency meant that it didn't happen for either of them at Borough, and are now both free agents. Millwall, Shaun Williams. He's been an absolute club legend throughout his time at the Den. Signed for them in 2014. He was relegated to League 1 with them, got them back promoted up to the Championship, made over 290 appearances for the club, and will be missed around there, I'm sure. It's players like Shaun Williams that it's sad to see that they didn't get like a proper send-off in the stadium, you know, because a player that's given like that much to a club definitely deserves it. Nottingham Forest, Sam Bassau. There were a couple Forest players that I could have gone with, but Sam Bassau, when he was like at his optimum, when he was fully fit and at his best, he was one of the best holding midfielders in the Championship. He was absolutely brilliant. Like, thinking back to that first season he had with Forest, when he was on it, he was absolutely unstoppable, wasn't he? Unfortunately for him, things that went against him ultimately were his age. You know, he's now 32, and the fact that he's just been so injury prone during his time at the City ground. Peterborough, Louis Reid. He was someone who I thought they may keep on going into next season. He played a fair amount of the season for them this time around, but I'm guessing he'll be in search of some first team football, and it wouldn't surprise me if any League 1 team goes ahead and snaps him up. Also, it's very interesting to see that they've made Mo Isa available for a summer transfer, so I'm interested to see where he ends up. Preston North End, Billy Bowden. Unfortunately, Bowden's time at North End has sort of been skewed by injuries. When he got a consistent run in the first team, there's definitely a player there with Billy Bowden. If he was able to maintain his fitness, I think he would have made a decent Championship player, to be honest with you. In terms of someone who had individual brilliance and a bit of trickery and quality on the ball, Billy Bowden did have just that. You know, he scored a couple of outrageous goals for us over the years, but he just couldn't cement his place down in the first team because he was so hit and miss with injuries. QPR, Paul Smythe. It's never really worked out for the striker in London, has it? He came over from Linfield in 2017, has since had several loan spells out to League 1. Most recently, he's been playing his football for Accrington Stanley, but he never really got much of a run in that first team, did he? When it comes to Reading, obviously Omar Richards will be joining up with Bayern Munich after agreeing a pre-contract with them. In terms of their other release players, the 2 main ones that head up that list are Sam Baldock and Sone Aluko. Just thinking back now to how much money Reading actually spent on Sone Aluko, I think at the time it was something like £7.5 2.5 million or something around that figure, wasn't it? And he was just coming off the back of a fantastic season with Fulham. But for Reading, the player just never really delivered, did he? He had one loan spell out at China at one point, but the whole move was pretty underwhelming. Sheffield United, John Lundstrom, the player had made it clear to the club quite a while ago actually that he saw his future elsewhere, and so decided not to sign on with the club and is now a free agent. Like quite a few of the Sheffield United players, he's not exactly coming off the back of a great individual season himself. Prior to that, actually, he had been fantastic in that first year up in the Premier League with Sheffield United, as he scored 5 goals and got 3 assists from midfield. Swansea City, Andreiu. This one is going to be, I mean, he's going to be near on impossible for Swansea to replace, let's be real, in terms of a like-for-like replacement with the budget that Steve Cooper is probably going to be given over this summer. 17 goals for him this season, 16 the season before that. He was that player that when everyone else was sort of having a bad day, Ayew would pop up with a moment of magic to win the game by itself. Swansea in general have a bit of a rebuild job to do over this summer, don't they, with all their loan players returning to their parent clubs and with their star departing now in Andreiu. It's going to be a big reshuffle there over the summer. West Brom, Hal Robson-Kanu. To be fair, West Brom have released quite a few players this summer, haven't they? Charlie Austin's gone, obviously he's recently signed for QPR. Kamil Grosicki, who I rate quite highly but never really got the opportunity to shine at West Brom. Ivanovic has gone, Kyle Edwards, one of their younger players, but Hal Robson-Kanu is an interesting one. He's never sort of been seen as like the main man for West Brom whilst he's been there. He's always sort of been that backup option, hasn't he? He scored a couple of goals for them in the Premier League this season, and to be fair, in their promotion season, he actually got quite a bit of game time that year round, didn't he? You know, he was preferred over Austin at some point to that season. But yeah, West Brom are seemingly another club who are looking for a bit of a reshape going into this summer. But guys, there we have it. There was every Championship club and their best player that's been released this summer. Would you take any of them at your club? Let me know down below. Also, do you think your team has made any mistakes in letting any of these players go? Do you think you should have signed some of them on? Let me know down below. But apart from that will now wrap it up for today's video, guys. If you did go to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Also, do stick around and subscribe for a bit of regular Championship content. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.